Hunt, what's
right.
up, man?
Hunt's here. Good to see you, man.
This all reminds me of that SNL skit with Jimmy Fallon and Ben Affleck when they're the DJs. They keep hitting the button, and we're back.
If you can hear us, post inside the huddle. Mo Hampton's going to get a lot of opportunity this weekend.
Maurice.
Yeah, can't go
Mo
with
is
Mo.
his father.
Got to be Maurice.
A lot of people around the football program call him Mo, and then Paul broke the news that he wants to be called Maurice.
Whatever.
I'm going to give him his football name until he makes a baseball play.
Okay, well that's
Mo
fair.
Hampton.
I
Maurice.
think there's just so much upside there. He's so much behind the curve, having not. Well, that's kind of a pun there, but not. He just hasn't. He hasn't played, and this is a whole different ball game. But I think it's 50% what they believe he can do, and I think there's 50% here that's kind of an indictment on DiGiacomo that, okay, well, you're not really getting it done. We've seen you in the fall. We've seen you in the spring. There's a kid that's got a chance. We're going to let him go until the leash runs out.
Here's what Paul said a couple of weeks back when we asked him about Hampton.
Well, I don't know who expected him to step in on day one. That's an awfully big task for a kid. It's not like he's going to play for the Little Sisters of the Poor here. LSU is a highly ranked baseball team, and to not have played all fall, not played all summer. Heck, he played last spring with a broken wrist in high school. To expect him to step in from day one and start hitting pitchers like Cole Henry and Landon Marceau, I think is a little bit unreasonable.
What did you see from him in Thibodeau? I mean, he flashed a little bit of bat late, and then he's got the speed on the base path.
He can run, and he's not striking out a ton, which means he's putting up competitive at bats, and the bat speed's so good that eventually you feel like he's going to start running into some hits. Defense looks a little rusty to me. I mean, there was a really tough play late in the game where he's running back towards the wall and kind of got turned around. The wind was blowing really hard. It was a tough play, but he didn't even sniff the ball. So there's work to be done, but the good news is that there are so many tools that he's got. With the speed, he's got a good arm, he's got incredible bat speed. There are some things he can do that you can't teach, and there's some things that I think he'll get better at as time moves forward. But right now, you kind of put him down towards the bottom of the lineup and see. Now you're going to be facing some pretty mediocre pitching in 2 of the next 3 weekends. Now, next weekend in Houston, you'll see good arms, but this weekend against Eastern Kentucky, and then they put a team on the schedule that I've never heard of. You got to work hard to do that.
Little Sisters of the Poor?
They're playing UMass Lowell. Little Sisters of the Poor, biggest rival, UMass Lowell in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I've never heard of.
Everybody knows about UML. Come on, Hunt.
you gotta see what he can do against those guys, and if he shows over the next 3 weeks that he's not getting it done, you got to make another decision. But I think that there's an opportunity there for him to kind of get going a little bit.
So it sounds like they're experimenting with Maurice Hampton a little bit, and really when you look at kind of lineup experimentation and field experimentation, like that led to some mistakes against Nichols, right? There's a lot of infield miscommunication. So what's kind of how do you feel about maybe trying these different things out, knowing that there may be some short-term consequences that you're going to have to deal with?
Oh, I'm all for it. You've got so many moving pieces, so many options here where you don't have a team of proven veterans like they have sometime in the past. I want to see everybody in every position they can play, and you'll figure it out. This is a 56-game marathon. You're talented enough to win games while you're figuring it out. It's not as if you're just throwing up the white flag, but yeah. I don't see any reason to just decide, okay, these are my 9 guys, put them in there and go. I want to see everybody.
What's the most impressive arm you've seen through this point?
Hill. I mean, I didn't know he had that in the tank. I mean, I knew he could throw hard, and I know he had a good slider. But to come out there and for 2 innings to hold the fastball at 98 miles an hour, that wasn't like one pitch that he got jacked up and threw. I mean, he was throwing 97, 98 on every pitch. You hadn't had a guy like that in a while.
So what happens if he sustains that? What's the staff look like? I mean, he's automatic your Friday night guy if he's that guy, right?
Or is he your closer coming in at 98?
I mean, Hunt, if he throws 2 perfect innings throwing 98 with a cutter, I mean, he's not a frontline guy.
He could be, but I think Henry was really good. Yep. And right now, I just don't think that they're in a position where they want to throw him 85 pitches. They would rather throw him 25, 35, 40, and work him up. And we'll see. But Henry hadn't given you any reason to pull him out of that Friday night role. And I love the ability to shorten the game from the back end with Fontenot and Hill. And those guys can give you 4 dominant innings. Well, that's half the game. I mean, so that's a big deal. I absolutely love him back there in the bullpen, and I don't know that, we watched Zach Hess as a freshman come out there and throw at 95, 96, 97 miles an hour with the slider, and then he moved into a Friday night starting role, and he was throwing 92 miles an hour. And there's nothing wrong with throwing 92 miles an hour. You can get plenty of guys out throwing 92 miles an hour, but you don't know how things change when you're, instead of just letting it rip for 2 innings, you're trying to go 115 pitches.
I mean, it's just. Do you remember the peace of mind that you had when freshman Hess came out onto that mound and you knew he was just going to blow by guys? Jane Hill could be that, but maybe even to a higher degree. Hunt, what about these bats, man? Eddie Smith, welcome to LSU. You strike out 10 times against Nichols, and now it's time to fire the new hitting coach. So
back to Tulane.
Because everybody, this is my favorite thing about baseball season. I read on my Twitter feed and on message board and whatnot about how the approach to the play.
Yeah,
you don't know what the approach is. What are you talking?
Look at them; they're sitting on their back leg, Hunt.
And you've got.
I was watching him in the on deck circle.
You got 45 at bats, and if you determine as pro hitting coach fan guy that they swing at the first pitch too much over the course of 45 at bats, a couple people are going to swing at the first pitch, and you can point to those and go, "Well, they're not taking any pitches, they're not working any counts." It's so tiring to listen to that. I don't know what the approach is at the plate. I mean, Eddie Smith said they want to hit doubles and homers and strike out less.
Okay. That's
that sounds great.
Good theory.
But the point being, if he had Bregman and Stevenson and Shania and Savick and Laird and all those guys, they'd all probably be hitting 330 because that's what they do. These guys are a little bit less proven, and I think that we'll see. Time will tell. But I'm certainly not going to judge everything based on a Wednesday night in Thibodaux in February.
What about a Saturday afternoon in South Carolina for the basketball team?
I love this matchup.
Separation game, bro.
I started looking at the stats.
Me too. Sometimes it's good to get away.
No, it's actually. I was thinking, Hunt. What do you like? South Carolina, their 8-6 record is actually very impressive in relation to
really
their
hard
stats
it's hard
and where they rank up.
It's hard to figure out how they've done it, but I look around at a lot of different stats and I try to see which ones pop. And listen to this stat. There are 353 teams in college basketball. Guess where South Carolina ranks in terms of fouling opponents per game?
353?
353!
No.
How could you be the worst team
Wow.
in the country at anything if you're an SEC program?
That's a good question.
And
also, I mean, that plays right into LSU's hands.
It does.
That is exactly
and
what
the
they
other
want
part
to
of
do.
it is, what is LSU so bad at on defense?
Three-point?
Well, it's because they get beat off the dribble and kickouts. South Carolina is just not quick. They don't have any quickness. They start their two guard. I use air quotes. Is AJ Lawson. He's 6'7". Like, they're tall, but they don't have any quickness to beat you off the bounce. And so they don't shoot the three that well. They're the worst free throw shooting team in the conference. What LSU does poorly, I don't see South Carolina really countering. And I think that LSU is going to go on the road and win this game. How about this for a stat? This blew my mind, too.
Okay.
Alabama is the best percentage three-point shooting team in the SEC. They shoot 35%.
Damn.
Guess what LSU shoots on the road from the three-point line in SEC play?
31.
38%.
Oh, look at it.
38%. At home, they just suck.
Yeah, they can't throw it in the ocean.
Bad side angles in the PMAC. I mean, that's what it is. Just the lights.
They shoot better than the best three-point shooting team in the conference when they're on the road.
One thing they do need to take care of, though, from an administration standpoint, is the in-game experience of the basketball arena. I mean, I was so disappointed from what it looked like on television Tuesday night, right? And I know that there may not have been the interest and the place might not have been packed, but on television, there's a way to hide that. And it looks like the Maravich, it looks like you're watching almost like a play. It's so, the seats are so far away from the floor. Like, get to the action.
They kind of got the olds down low. They need to inject a little youth down low somehow.
My freshman year, we were right there at midcourt, and then they moved them my sophomore year, and it just, you've got the students in literally one section, and they're behind the goal. It's just not a great, environment. But if you put the students at midcourt for 98% of the games that aren't Kentucky, that section will be empty. So I don't know what to do. I don't have a great answer for that.
Hoops with Hunt's a daily podcast. It's published at 1045ESPN.com, presented by Hungry Howie's. You can find it there. Hunt's going to go record today's podcast when he leaves here, and LSU baseball this weekend. Got a sweep?
Oh, they'll sweep this weekend. I don't have any doubt.
Hunt Palmer, we'll talk to you next Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Happy Mardi Gras.
All right, guys, thanks.
All right, Hunt Palmer, we'll close that hour one next.